Right, welcome to the Boating Insider Podcast. We are leading up to PVA MariTrends, and one of the speakers is joining us, Tim Ratcliffe. You're the Director of Marine Operations at Argosy Cruises. Thank you for joining us. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Chris, for letting me talk.
Yeah, not a problem. And so your presentation is actually going to be more of a roundtable. It's called Let's Talk Operations, a vessel operator roundtable, and it's going to be Tuesday, January 30th at 2 p.m. at the show. So just diving right into it, what's the idea behind the roundtable? How did this come about?
Yeah, so at the regional conference in, I think it was September this year, I was in a talk that was run by Colleen Stevens, and she stood in front of the group and said, I want everyone in the room to be the moderators, everyone in the room to be the contributing person. And I'd put that together with the thoughts that I am always at the passenger vessel conferences wanting to hear from other operators about little things or big things that happen. But it seems that we're passing so fast and the presentations sometimes don't cover those things. I just asked, the question, hey, Eric, could we run one where we're just asking operational questions of those who attend, and not have a panel up at the top, but have the panel be really the people who are in the room itself. And that was kind of where the whole thing came from. That's what it's based on.
So you're kind of flipping the script. And I know when you and I spoke last week, you mentioned you want to have it where it's basically 3 minutes of presentation and then 57 minutes of open Q&A.
Yeah, that's right. And so, always have the problem of, the nervous Nelly of saying, oh my goodness, is it going to be 57 minutes of quiet? So I'll have a PowerPoint with some prompts and things like that. But yeah, that is the gist, is that if we have 57 minutes of people talking and interacting, then I think that's what a success looks like.
Okay, cool. And that's part of what I want to have either you highlight or just put it out there. But as operators come to this, like, please, if you're attending this one, think through some topics that you can discuss, because that'll add to it. And they can be kind of one-off topics or things that maybe aren't fully focused on, or might be a 10-minute conversation. And just let's dive into some of the examples so we can at least prep people. I know one of them is the Coast Guard count, and one of the solutions that you came up with. So let's dive into that, and then we'll touch on a couple of the other pieces that you got feedback from for your team.
Yeah, so for years, the Coast Guard requires that we have a count on land of how many people are on board the boat. In the event of an emergency, they can access that quickly and know how many people need to be saved out of the water or whatever. Since the dawn of time, we've always gone through different variations of it. Do you leave a written notebook at the departure ramp? We had phone calls that we were doing, and this would have been a topic I would have brought up to this group. Hey, how do you guys source this out? What we came up with was FormStack, and I know there's other types of form stacks out there, but it's basically a survey program. And now we preload it with the date, we preload it with the time. There's just a drag down to the boat and a drag down to the Coast Guard count. It takes 7 seconds for the captain to do this and hit submit, and it automatically sets up to do it again for the next 2 or in an hour. And we have that information in front of us within seconds. And you can send it to different emails, so that not only do I get it as a director of marine operations, my port captain does, the owner of the company can get to it. Anybody who is working on a day when none of us are around have access to it. So the fireman who shows up could have access to it quickly. So that would be an example of an operational issue that we were struggling to get on top of, and we found a solution. This is the kind of format that I would have been talking about that in.
Well, and that's awesome. And two, it kind of ties into what's happening across pretty much every industry, is the digitization of all these processes and the impact that it has. But it's a confusing landscape. So I'm glad you guys found a solution to it. And now I almost want to flip it, because there's a couple others that you just mentioned that you were talking to your team about, that you want to even open up for discussion. So just if you can touch on those as a way to give people some guidance on what they should bring up, what type of stuff.
Well, so yeah, one of the topic ranges, it's going to have a range. One of the big ones that, in talking to my managers here, it's the feedback loop. We get a lot of information from the crew in form stack or at the end of day report forms or through charter report forms and these types of things. And the information or engineering has a way of submitting task tickets like fix the light bulb or fix this and that. And what we've heard from the crew is they never hear from us afterwards. Well, we submitted it, but what is being done with it? Well, we really like our crew, and our crew are the cornerstone of what we do. So if they benefit from hearing a feedback loop, then we want to do that. But we've struggled with it to be consistent, and they know our heart's in the right place, and that gets you, a certain percentage of goodwill. But really, to actually do the task that they have told us is important to them, and so different ideas for what a feedback loop looks like. That's
Sure.
one side of the scope. And the other one, we're dealing with something as simple as how do you sort recycling on board the boats? And that's just a very simple, basic thing. We do the 3-tub thing. We do the, and we want to compost here in Seattle. We want to recycle, and we want to have the refuse and all of that stuff. Our efforts have yielded, not the best results. We've done a great job of only trying to purchase products that only come in compostable packages. Okay, so we
Sure.
just solved it on that front, but then, how do we resolve it on board the boat? So those are a couple of the issues. I have other ones too of tracking crews' progress as they learn new skills, basically what types of, and those are learning management systems do that real well, but sometimes they come with a cost, and is there a way to do it without incurring a big cost like that? So those are some of the topics.
Okay, got it. Yeah, it's a wide range. I mean, it's from like a full scope operational challenge to something down to like recycling and how do you sort it. Like and it's funny because just from a distance, it's not something that you would really think about almost at all as something that would be a challenge. But when you get into the nitty gritty of an operation, you really got to think through this stuff, and it's not always so clear.
Yeah, and I know that the topics I'm going to bring are the ones that, by golly, I keep bringing up every year, or we're sitting in a thing. How do we sort out this issue? The recycling one is the one that just keeps coming back up year after year, and we've put time into it, and I'm definitely ready for input.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Well,
and I hope
Tim,
other people are. Yeah.
I think so too. I like the concept of this. I think it'll be good to open it up. I was at the PVA in Charleston, and I like the presentations. Like somebody from our company is doing a presentation too, and I got a lot out of it. I was taking notes the whole time. But I'm actually I'm interested to see how this goes, and I hope that we get some good feedback, because if this can become something that happens on a recurring basis, I think you'll get a lot of pretty nuanced feedback on a wider variety of topics. At least something where you can pick up a conversation in private after the fact, but somebody knows you have an issue that they've already solved and can coordinate it. So, and hopefully this podcast helps with that too.
Oh yeah, I hope so too.
But so Tim, before we wrap up, is there anything else that you want to touch on?
No, we've talked about a lot of the things that you and I had kind of said we would be talking about, and I'm excited to, to what do you call it, MC it or whatever. I look forward to hearing what people have to say. I'm looking forward to the whole conference this time. I like Portland. I think it's a great city. I get a lot out of these PVA meetings, and I hope that this format that we're doing this time is a thing that can be repeatable year after year. So,
agreed. Well, so just as a quick recap, it's called Let's Talk Operations, a vessel operator roundtable. It's going to be on Tuesday, January 30th at 2 p.m. Tim, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Thanks a lot.